Blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, we will continue your thoughts, your views, your opinion concerning socialism coming here to the Gem State and to the country of America, and also a few other things, whether or not we really need a state law banning people from using their cell phones unless it's a hands-free device. A lot going on today, but joining us now is Keith Murphy from Idaho 2Fly, idaho2fly.com. Mr. Murphy, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Not bad. Appreciate you joining us here and to talk a little bit about men and their issues, especially men fighting cancer.
Well, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Just give you a little rundown on who Idaho 2Fly is. We've been working since 2012 here in Idaho supporting men with cancer. If any man has cancer, if they're in remission, or you know what, if they're just interested in working with us, helping to support these men, we want to hear from, people like that. We're a volunteer-based organization funded totally by a fantastic group of individuals as well as companies here in Idaho. And one of the great things about our program is all the funds that we raise here in Idaho are used here in Idaho. We focus, primarily on southern Idaho and eastern Idaho. And, our whole mission is to take advantage of what fly fishing is all about and bring men together that, have cancer and support them as best we can, educate them in just raising awareness that, hey, you guys are you're not the only guys suffering from something like this. There's other people out there. So
sure.
Tremendous organization and great opportunities for people out there to get involved if they're interested in it.
Well, we never really hear a lot about men with cancer. They seem to react differently, or do they react differently, Mr. Murphy, to women with cancer?
Absolutely. We always like to say that a woman who's dealing with this disease she'll tell 100 friends in a New York second. And guys, not so much. We kind of want to think about it for the next month or two before we decide who we want to share that with. And, they just don't know who to reach out to. And that's why we're here. We're here to give them an opportunity to create some fellowship, some community with other men. And our retreats are all designed to get these guys together, 12, 13 guys at a time, to actually visit with each other and understand that, hey, you're not alone. And we want men to know that, they're not alone in this battle.
Well, again, idaho2fly.com. Mr. Murphy, what would you say to people that are fighting cancer right now, dealing with it, a disease that impacts everyone?
Well, it does. 39% of men and women out there will, be diagnosed at some point in time with cancer, in their lifetime. And, the bottom line is you're not alone. There's no such thing as cancer light. We're here to help. We're here to help any man who's facing this disease. Doesn't matter what type of cancer you have. We're out there to pull you in and to help you get through this.
So, what would you like to get across to the people here? I see you're fly fishing. That would explain the title of your domain of your company, idaho2fly.com. But is it more than just fishing with the flies, or what?
No, what we do is we've got a number of different programs going on. We run 3 retreats a year. In July and August, we go up into the Copper Basin up east of Sun Valley. And then in October, we go over to Ashton, and we base the initial, get together is certainly around fly fishing. We take our men and all expenses are paid. All they need to do is get there. Gosh, if you can't even get there, we'll arrange to carpool a ride up, to the resort for the weekend. But what we've found is that after these men get together at the retreat, they create a bond amongst themselves such that we have a group of men that get together on a regular basis now that are previous guests that they have their little, every couple of months they'll have a get together and they talk. and they check in on each other, see how they're doing. We also have what we call Fly Fishing 101 that we start running in March of every year. We have a class here in Boise, and we have one over in eastern Idaho. For previous guests, or men who are looking to potentially go to a retreat, or men who are interested in volunteering with us, it's a terrific opportunity. But it is based around fly fishing. We don't do any bait fishing. Nothing against bait fishing, folks. It's just that there's just a different environment with fly fishing that gives these guys an opportunity to forget about what they're dealing with for a weekend and just get back to nature and have a great diversion that, quite frankly, a lot of us that volunteer are very, very passionate about.
Idaho2fly.com. Heath Murphy is with us. Mr. Murphy, anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
Well, I would encourage everybody to, go check out our website at Idaho, 2, and then fly.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Would just ask you to, go check it out. There's some tremendous information in there. If you're interested in supporting us, we've got, Idaho Gives is in May, first week in May this year. That's the statewide opportunity for residents of Idaho and, well, anybody on the internet, quite frankly, but to support all the nonprofits that are here in Idaho. We have a fly fishing derby June 1st over in Eagle at Ron Sally's ranch.
Sure,
that's our
sure.
thing. And we've got new this year too, June 3rd.
Right. No, we don't really need to go over all the events, but just if people want to help, it's Idaho2fly.com. And again, for those people that are fighting cancer, their families, know that you got a group of men, and there are a lot of groups for women and such that are making a difference. Finally, Mr. Murphy, why is it so important to you to do this?
I personally haven't dealt with cancer myself in my body, but I have relatives who suffered from the disease. I have, it's every month I hear of someone that I touch that is dealing with cancer, and I get a lot of return on the work that I do. It's extremely rewarding, and I would urge anybody out there that, if you've got some time, get involved and support an organization like ours.
Idaho2fly.com. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a great week and appreciate the time.
We'll have you back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And remember, that's Idaho2fly.com, helping men battle cancer by fly fishing. And regardless of whether you're a fly fisherman or not, it's good to know that there are people that are dedicating their time, their effort, their energy to make our community a better place. We thank Mr. Murphy for joining us. Holly in Caldwell, thank you for your patience. You're on 107.5 FM, 580 AM KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Holly. Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to address a little bit about the lunacy and about the climate change religion that seems to be sweeping our country. I think that if anybody thinks for half a second that stuff is true, they should read the Bible and know that the Lord's plan for the earth is for man to have dominion over the plants and the animals. And we have seen this, I think, as I started reporting, even in the Bundy case, all of the huge environmental lawsuits to try to take over property rights in America, deeded, homesteaded water rights, property rights for that family and many others in Nevada, the Hage family.
Well, you don't have to go to Nevada or anywhere else. You can talk to farmers in Weiser and Payette or throughout the Treasure Valley, and they'll say, look, we've got cattle, we've got crops, and the BLM comes in and they put up fences, and we can't. Our cows can't go to the water anymore. I have people talking to me about that all the time, and what I'd like to see is, where is our state government on this? We're again, Holly, as you know, asking them to live up to their word, repeal the repressive grocery tax. Where are they on the rights of farmers?
I agree. We need to follow the Constitution. We need to quit worrying about coming up with every kind of law to tell everybody how to think, whatever. The BLM was created to serve the people and to have boundaries between farmers and ranchers. It wasn't so they could dictate to them what they could do on their own private deeded property rights. And a hallmark of a free nation is to be able to have property rights. And if people think that that's all about public lands and isn't coming to a doorstep near them, they're wrong. And
well, no,
so
let's
this
go back to
green new-
property rights, because with the socialist collective that these folks are, gathering together like the Legion of Doom or the environmental wackos, property rights are over. Private property rights are over. We're all going to live on collective farms.
That's exactly what the agenda is, Kevin. The agenda through the United Nations is to get the people into major cities. They want people removed from the West. I know it sounds crazy for people that haven't been paying attention, but people need to understand the real agenda, and they need to tell their schools to get the climate change religion out of the schools. Ms. Cortez is a prime example of the lunacy that's coming down from public education, and we have to stop that.
And we will. Holly, thank you for the call. By the way, let's make this official. I am declaring an end to the false prophecy of climate change. First, Chicago, 30 below, now Seattle. To all our friends with the Birkenstocks and sipping their lattes in Seattle, do you still believe in global warming? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Are you going to participate, young man, or are you just going to sit in here and monitor? So it's up to you. You feel like, we have a very special guest appearance by Jeff the Suit, who joins us this morning. I believe you're monitoring the broadcast. Is that correct?
Well, I have to, right? You've heard your product.
All about quality control.
All about it.
And we're always trying to strive to really...
Now, if you're going to use that, it has to be loud enough to hear.
I know,
do you
I
need
know.
me here to tell you this? What are we doing?
I'm
Why is this so
sorry,
Monday? What's going on? Come on.
I'm sorry. I went to the Mr. President
It didn't work.
button. Yes, story of my life.
Make your button great again.
So we've decided to say that global warming is a fraud,
I've heard.
and we are starting the Stop Socialism Express right here in Idaho. We're
What
so
a
excited.
Busy morning. Tell you what.
Unless Sean Hannity has done it already, then
right.
we'll be
Right. Then we're second to the party. But yeah.
right on your home for Hannity right here.
That is
KIDO
us.
Talk Radio. So, in addition to that, something that is nonpartisan, would you mind partaking in the conversation here?
I'd be honored.
You can join Jeff the Suit at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This idea that Senator Rice proposed Friday, that if you're driving with your phone, holding it in your car, that you're going to pay a $50 fine, then it's $100, then it's $200. If you get in an accident while you are on your phone, all of a sudden, what's going to happen? Then the fine could double.
Right.
Now, remember, the state Senate tried to do this last year. You had a state senator from Moscow say, people are going to do it anyway. We're not going to pass a law. And that story is available at KIDOTalkRadio.com. But to me, it doesn't matter if you're a lib or a good person. And we say that jokingly, a Republican or a Democrat. Texting and driving does impact the safety of what's going on here. And holding your phone while you're driving impacts our safety, correct?
Look, I don't think you can argue that. I always think it's funny, and I think we've probably, if we're honest, all been guilty of it once or twice, or taking a phone call or finding out that, hey, we're kind of distracted. But my parents live in Seattle, so when I'm in Washington, I have to remember, don't touch your phone. Like, it is that big a deal. The second fine, I think, is $2,500. And, I mean, it's amazing. So, like, my parents have taught me, the second you get into a car, if you're driving in Washington, you put your phone down. And I do think it works. I think that's farcical to say it doesn't work. You get a couple of those tickets, I think your behavior's changed really quickly.
Sure. So $50 is too low of a fine, you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to move the needle as much. But, even I think our speeding tickets here are pretty expensive in Idaho. I got one right before Christmas.
Star.
It was $175. Like,
right.
Okay, I was going slow in Star. Every time I come out to the Miller mansion out there, I'm definitely watching out a little more.
We don't play in Star.
No,
we
you don't.
Play,
and it was interesting. That officer was not having a good day. So
right.
Yeah.
Well,
but like that's an effective behavior change. It has certainly impacted me.
Right. So going back to this idea, have you noticed when you're on the roads, people distracted all the time, like most of us here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all done it, so I'm not putting myself above anybody else, but I've noticed I do use my hands free, and that's become something that I think because I've visited other places and gotten used to that, you do notice the difference. If you've got your phone up, even at a stoplight, I think we all can make that argument too. I do it at the red. Well, then you're the car that's getting honked at when you're still on your phone when the light changes. We probably all could be a little bit better about putting our phones down.
Well, and again,
what do you think?
I personally like the idea because you see so many accidents. You see people texting and driving, which is just crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it's easy to do it without even meaning to, right? And these ads aren't kidding. It can be the last text that someone sent when they smashed into a semi-truck was something like, yeah, haha, to call you later. And it's so stupid to think that that moment of distraction costs someone a life. And I think anything we can do to help that probably makes sense.
So why not put the fine at $500 for the first time offense?
I'm in.
And then $1,000 for the second time.
I think that makes sense. I would be supportive of that.
It would change. Well, it would change the behavior. Now, again, this is where Pat from Middleton and others will call me liberal Kevin, but I do agree with Jeff the Suit, and I'm kind of pandering because he's right here.
Of course.
As opposed to when he's not here, then we kind of run wild and free. However, at 580-5436-580-KIDO, there's no freedom to talk on your phone. By the way, it takes away from listening to me.
Right, which we
Sean
don't
Hannity.
want. We don't want that at all.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we need to abolish that type of behavior. We need to fine people, and we need to keep people safe.
That's it.
You see, elected office could be in my future.
No.
KIDO, I don't know why he laughs at that. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:25, 107.5 FM, 580 AM.
That was Larry Gebbert.
All right, Larry Gebbert, thank you very much. And it's a little crazy out, a little wet, a little wild, and we want to make sure that you get there safely. Now, the government of Idaho, thanks to Senator Rice, we appreciate Senator Rice, proposing this legislation. And basically saying, look, you get caught on your phone, and I understand we don't want to be like Oregon. We don't want to be like Washington, where there are no individual liberties. To me, it has gotten so bad that you need to impose a big fine. Now, one could argue that there's a big, and I know you're going, dude, is it's the libs have taken over Kevin Miller's mind? Make the case for talking on your phone that really helps you drive. Because in the end, you want to get from point A to point B safely. We had a horrific accident over the weekend, multiple deaths involving an F-150 and a Tundra, right? We don't know what caused it. There are things going on in this world beyond our control that can lead to our death. Why increase the probability? So I think that it's time to take a look at that. And the texting, man, they have to stop it. I know there were a bunch of CEOs, our friend Doug Armstrong, formerly of Channel 7, and the folks at Channel 7, they had a partnership. Don't text, avoid the wrecks, that sort of thing. But there needs to be a bigger concerted effort. Now, we could talk about repealing the grocery tax, which I believe in, but public safety has to be job one. And to me, I really wish that they would highlight those barriers on State Street, because in the middle of the night, it's tough to see, and we don't want you crashing your car into those things as well. By the way, if you're working today, God bless you. God bless you for being out in the cold, brothers and sisters. Let's go to Jesse in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning. You said that we need to really speak about the phone issue. So I was saying that it's not really about the lives, that you can't make that sort of argument for essentially fining people. That seems really communist, you know?
How does finding people seem?
For guns.
Wait a minute. How does finding people seem communist, Jesse?
Finding them for something that's not gonna actually, it's a victimless crime because they haven't hurt anybody. Are you following?
I'm trying. So you're saying it's a victimless crime to be texting and talking on your phone while driving?
I wouldn't even say it's a crime, but it's essentially finding people and getting them to pay money for not hurting anybody. And it's just, you know, seems pretty communist what you would see in the Soviet Union.
I see. Now, do you mind if I ask you another question, Jesse?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you in favor of legalizing marijuana?
No. I'm not in favor of really criminalizing it, but I'm not in favor of legalizing it either. And the main reason why, the only real reason why, is because it will keep more Californians out of the state, you know, because it'll seem more attractive to them if we legalize marijuana, and that's the reason why I don't want to legalize it.
Well, let me just say this. Congratulations, Jesse. I tried to pigeonhole you, and you didn't fall for it.
Thank you.
All right. one more time. You're saying, okay, here's the other point of the argument. You're driving on your phone, you're distracted. You're texting on your phone, you're distracted. There have been multiple accidents caused by people being distracted while being on their phone, texting while driving. It's a public safety issue, Jesse.
How about people eating a burger while they're driving? You get kind of distracted when you're doing that, too. Should we start fining them if there's just few accidents that happen?
How dare you talk about food, sir? Well, let's leave that out to folks, and we'll see what happens. Jesse, we appreciate your input. I think you've got me to stalemate here, sir.
All right, have a good day.
Thank you. Jesse calling 580-5436, calling, driving on a phone, the victimless crime, and we're all going to be commies. Coming up next, what happens when you date a commie? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And did you know KIDO Talk Radio is your home for Fox News on the radio? We talk to our Fox News correspondents in New York, in Washington, in London, all over the world, sometimes in the Middle East, right here on 107.5 FM, 580 AM.
There's a racist tweet, a hateful tweet, something really dark and ugly. And what are we as candidates, as activists, as the press going to do about that? We're going to chase after those every day? Are we going to let him use those to divide us? You know, here's what bothers me. By the time we get to 2020, Donald Trump may not even be president. In fact, he may not even be a free person.
And there we have it from Elizabeth Warren on the campaign trail, the latest Democrat to seek the nomination for 2020. Joining us now from the White House, Fox News Radio's John Decker on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, she's not the latest. The latest actually is Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, who announced also this weekend. And so the field of candidates competing for the Democratic nomination is getting larger and larger. In fact, there are just 3 Democrats from the Senate Judiciary Committee alone that are declared candidates for President of the United States in 2020. Pretty remarkable.
Indeed, and I believe there are more women now running than men.
I have not. I take your word for it. I have not done the math there, so that may indeed be the case.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So, of course, everybody wants to know whether or not there's going to be another government shutdown. What are you hearing at the White House, John?
Well, you know, I had more optimism over the weekend. It seemed like there was some movement in terms of a compromise, and over the past 24 hours, it seems as if there's more pessimism over those bipartisan, bicameral talks. The deadline is technically Friday, but it's really a lot sooner than that, Kevin. You really need to have a compromise in place over the course of the next 24 hours in order for the full House and the full Senate to vote on that type of legislation to keep the government funded. And I don't think we're going to get there. Things can change a lot, obviously, over the course of the next day or so. But that's sort of the artificial timeline that this bipartisan committee is now facing.
And if a compromise doesn't happen, the government will shut down on Friday?
If there is no compromise, then indeed the government would run out of funding. That's the continuing resolution runs through midnight on Friday. And if there's no compromise, then those same departments that shut down in the last government shutdown, including the Department of Homeland Security, which, by the way, includes the Coast Guard and Border Patrol and the Secret Service, they would shut down again.
Wow. Any word concerning the president's big event tonight and what the White House expects?
Well, this is the president's trip that he's taking this afternoon to El Paso, Texas. El Paso was the city that he mentioned in the State of the Union address last week in arguing for the wall that the president wants to build along the U.S.-Mexico border. So the president heading down there this afternoon. He gets back to the White House really, really late. I think it's after 2:30 in the morning after heading down to El Paso. It's going to be a long day, long trip for the president. Interestingly enough, scheduling a counter rally will be former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who used to represent El Paso, Texas, in the U.S. Congress. It's going to be interesting, obviously, Kevin, to see which one of those rallies draws more individuals. But it's the president. My guess is that the president will get more people at his rally than Beto O'Rourke will get at his counter rally.
Has the president found the secret sauce with the counter to the new Green Deal? And really, most Democrats, it seems, watching the shows, embracing socialism.
Well, that's the reason why the president brought that up, I think, in his State of the Union address last week. And it seems as if the president will run on this kind of thread during his presidential campaign next year, arguing that whoever the Democratic nominee is, whoever it is, and I don't know who that's going to be, is for socialism. He is for moving America forward, a capitalist approach, and that is certainly going to be one of those themes that we'll hear about over the course of the next year. But the president commenting on Amy Klobuchar's presidential announcement, which took place in Minnesota over the weekend. You may have seen the video. It was during a snowstorm, and the president commenting how Senator Klobuchar wants to have the U.S. rejoin the climate change accord, and the president making reference to the huge snowstorm that was happening during her presidential announcement. So the president's paying a lot of attention to what's happening on the other side. We know about his tweets and his comments regarding Elizabeth Warren, and now we see some comments regarding Amy Klobuchar as well.
You know, the president seems to, unlike President Obama and President Clinton, to me, he's the exact opposite. He seems to enjoy the trail much more than he enjoys governing. And that's just an assumption on my part, where you had Clinton that was fairly good and you had Obama that really redefined things, but they loved the intricacies of governance. Both were wonks. What do you think of that comparison with President Trump?
Well, I think it's an apt comparison as it relates to Barack Obama. I don't think it necessarily is the case with Bill Clinton. He loved going out there. He loved meeting people, shaking hands with anybody, talking to anybody. He just loved being out there, besides the fact that he loved policy. For President Obama, didn't like, sort of the handshaking and that kind of thing. Like talking, as you know, to large audiences. Love those big campaign speeches. But that's so different than, what we're talking about, which is meeting people in those small towns in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, which is necessary in the early part of the presidential process.
What it takes. John Decker, we appreciate you, brother.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Have a great day. I'll talk to you real soon.
Look forward to it. John Decker joining us, Fox News Radio, only on KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, we're not talking about the Grammys tonight, but a possible presidential candidate did attend. Here's what she had to say.
Music helps us share ourselves, our dignity and sorrows, our hopes and joys. It allows us to hear one another, to invite each other in.
Could you imagine if Michelle Obama runs and wins? Now, I know what you're saying, Kevin Miller, we've had enough of the Obamas, but you hear that and, man, you're going, wow, I'd like some of that in a politician. Boy, the Clintons would have, can you imagine Hillary Clinton if Michelle Obama is our president? I don't think that she has the stomach for it. Obviously, she has the charisma. Remember last week, if you missed it, our friend Dr. Lamero said that he believes she'll win the Electoral College. But one more time.
Music helps us share ourselves, our dignity and sorrows, our hopes and joys. It allows us to hear one another, to invite each other in.
The fastest selling book of all time, Michelle Obama's. Let's go to Tom in Nampa. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Tom.
Hello. Well, I haven't called for quite a while.
We've got another Tom in Nampa, and every time we talk to him, I think it's you, and Tom from Nampa's been replaced.
Well, maybe you can call me Big Tom Woodcutter. I used to be a lumberjack.
Big Tom Woodcutter. Okay.
Yeah, that's my handle on my email. Anyway, I decided to read this Green New Deal thing. It's H.R. 109. I think it's not a bad idea, so we know exactly what we're talking about, because a lot of people are saying there's things in there that aren't necessarily there. But isn't this one of the things it says? I've read it 3 times. I kind of really get it down. Is that 350 million people would be having heat stress by the year 2050, and that we would have $1 trillion loss of revenues, national revenues, by 2100, which is the 22nd century. Now, how's this going to be possible when the Earth's supposed to be coming to an end by, 2030, she's claiming? Isn't that kind of interesting?
The end of the world as we know it.
Yeah. And then also, she wants, all transportation to be 100%, green type transportation and public rail, this high-speed rail. Well, what are trains going to run on anyway? Don't they run on diesel?
Right.
I mean, what's she going to run the darn things on? And, of course, she puts a little escape hatch in there as long as whatever's technologically feasible. I didn't find anything in there that said about taking all the airplanes out of the sky.
Well, she wants to end fossil fuels and such. Yes, it's in there.
What led me to read this is some of the outlandish claims I heard Glenn Beck say it said. So we got to make sure that what she has claimed is in the bill is really in there. Of course, she gives a bunch of social.
Well, but on the other hand, you have the idea of cow flatulence in the printed bill, but not in the digital bill. So you can't believe what is online either from them.
Yeah, well, again, that's what gets me. Well, first off, she does lay most of the blame for global warming on the United States when it's the fact that countries like India and China, which are becoming more industrialized, have a terrible pollution problem over there. And now they're going to have to slaughter all those sacred cows that they have in India if they're going to, talk about this flatulence from the cows. I don't know. It's just a mess. And, of course, it's a pie in the sky because they talk about, all the people that are the downtrodden and how they're – I wonder where they're going to get all this money to fund.
Well, they're going to get the money from you.
Oh, they are, huh? Well, we're all going to be broke because, which one of the candidates said they ought to tax the rich, and I'm not rich, 90%?
That was all of them.
Yeah, who's going to want to work at 90%? I don't know who's going to be the Democratic nominee, but there's so many of these left-wing cuckoos running that I don't think one of them is going to get enough votes by themselves to get the nomination.
Sure.
So I don't know. I do think that perhaps Biden's waiting in the wings.
Well, we'll see about that, Tom. Thank you for the call.
On the table that, yes, actually, they're right. What this requires is massive government intervention.
It does. Yeah, I have no problem saying that.
I think one way that the right does try to mischaracterize what we're doing as though it's like some kind of massive government takeover. Mm-hmm.
There we have it, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'll get a massive government takeover. Now, you remember the show Seinfeld? People love Seinfeld. Now, I noticed the kids today, they have an affinity for the old NBC show The Office. But Seinfeld really was ahead of its time. And here we have one of the characters actually dating a communist. This could be happening to a family. This could be happening to your family. So in honor of Seinfeld once again being ahead of the curve, here we go.
He reads everything, Ned's very well read.
Maybe he's just very well read.
Communist? Don't you think he probably would have told me?
Well, does he wear bland, drab, olive-colored clothing?
Yes. Yes, he does dress a little drab.
He's a communist.
Ah.
Hey, look at this. Exciting, uninhibited woman seeks forward-thinking comrade. Appearance not important. Appearance not important. This is unbelievable. Finally, this is an ideology I can embrace.
And there we have it from the wisdom of Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David. Coming up, our battle begins against socialism. Yes, we are in America. Yes, we are in Idaho. We'll tell you about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
I bet the glue from that beard itches, doesn't it?
You've got that straight.
So when you get a rash all over your face in January, you think Coleman's will be there with a medical plan? Look, you take that commie crap out to the street. Kramer, I've got some literature in my car that will change your whole way of thinking.
Talk to me, baby.
There we have it again from Seinfeld talking about communism, which follows socialism, which is what we're talking about today. Good morning. Kevin Miller, just a few minutes before Glenn Beck here at 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. And did you know that the world is about ready to come to an end and only the crazy little libs can save it? Here is Senator Cory Booker.
And when the planet has been in peril in the past, who came forward to...
By the way, doesn't he sound panicked? Doesn't sound very presidential to me.
Save Earth from the scourge of Nazi and totalitarian regimes. We came forward. Who came forward to save the planet from, or continents from financial ruin? We came forward with the Marshall Plan.
Right. The continent? I didn't know that the Marshall Plan was here. I thought that was in Europe. Anyway, here is Cory Booker saying that the planet is about ready to end in 12 years. Remember how much they accused the President of the United States of fear-mongering. How can anybody say that this is not fear-mongering?
And so we have to deal with this. Our planet is in peril, and we need to be bold. It's one of the reasons why I signed on to the resolution, a co-sponsor the resolution for the Green New Deal. And there's a lot of people now that are blowing back on the Green New Deal. They're like, oh, it's impractical. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, it's all of this.
Well, they've given us this new Green Deal, but they haven't told us how they're going to pay for it. Kind of like Obama. You like your doctor, you can keep it. You like your health plan, you can keep it. How's that worked out for us?
We used to govern our dreams that way, we would have never gone to the moon. God, that's impractical. You see that ball in the sky? That's impractical.
Right. The Green New Deal. We're just going to eliminate cars, and everybody's going to wear a mouse suit and jump on the train, and hopefully it'll get you to Seattle. Phone number's here, 580-5436-580-KIDO. By the way, to our friends in Seattle, how's that global warming looking out for you? Anytime anybody talks about global warming, and let's say they're in one of these lib hubs, I love it. Look at what's playing out in Seattle today. Snow, massive snow continuing. How in the world can anybody say that global warming exists when we see the massive snow, when we see what's going on here? It got heated on Friday. We'll tell you about the House Judiciary Committee hearing in a minute. First, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, Kevin Miller in the morning. Time to get you to work safely and on time.
This Channel 7's Eric Gabbard.
Answer the question, yes or no. Did the president lash out to you about Mr. Cohen's guilty plea?
No, he did not.
That would be some of the fallout of the House Judiciary Committee interviewing the current Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. To me, remember that old and if you don't, you can always Google this, the not ready for primetime players. This was not about a hearing about investigations and trying to get to the truth. It was about being bullies.
At no time has the White House asked for, nor have I provided, any promises or commitments concerning the special counsel's investigation or any other investigation.
It was all for the cameras. But you know that old saying, jumping the shark? That's kind of what I think happened here. They jumped the shark. That's exactly what this was. Yelling at this man again and again and again, not following the rules. Now, this is what happens when you have the press on your side. When you have the libs, you can just get away with anything. Well, we're not going to let them get away with anything. Not here, not now. Won't you join the Stop Socialism Express, Kevin Miller, and you? We sure appreciate you listening. Ray and I, a great job. God bless everybody. Keep the faith. Fox News, and then Glenn Beck. Keep it here.